All right, today we're going to talk about something pretty incredible. Earth's own self-sustaining engine. It's this amazing system that powers all life by constantly recycling the most essential ingredients. We're talking about biogeochemical cycles. And honestly, if you want to understand life, you've got to understand these.
So, have you ever really stopped to think about this? I mean, Earth is a closed system, right? We're not getting regular shipments of carbon or water from outer space. So, how? How is it that for billions of years, life has just kept on going, building, growing, thriving, without completely running out of stuff?
Well, this is the answer. It's because our planet has a perfect recycling engine. And no, it's not magic, it's pure mechanics. Nature has this incredible system that's so efficient, nothing is ever really lost. It all just changes form and moves around.
Okay, so let's get into why this matters so much. The thing is, Earth has a finite supply of all the building blocks for life. That's it. So these recycling systems, they're not just some nice feature. They are the absolute precondition for our survival and the survival of every single living thing on this planet.
And really, when you break it down, it's both simple and just huge. These cycles are what let a tree grow tall. They're what keep entire ecosystems from just collapsing. And they physically move the atoms you need to live from the air, from the soil, and put them inside your body. Without them, life as we know it would just grind to a halt. Period.
All right, so if we're thinking about this as a planetary engine, it's got a few main gears. Let's start with the first one, carbon. You can think of carbon as the fundamental structural material. It's the steel frame, the bricks, the mortar, for every single living thing. And it's no exaggeration to say carbon is the backbone of life. I mean, the molecules that give you energy, that build your muscles, that hold your genetic code, they're all built around carbon atoms. It is quite literally what you are made of.
So how does it move around? That's the key. A plant, for instance, pulls carbon dioxide right out of the air to build itself. Then an animal comes along and eats that plant. You breathe out and boom, you're releasing carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. And when things die, decomposers get to work, returning that carbon to the soil so it can be used all over again. And of course, there's the human element. Burning fossil fuels releases huge amounts of carbon that was locked away for millions of years, which really messes with the timing of that cycle.
Okay, on to the next gear in our engine, nitrogen. Now, if carbon is the building material, think of nitrogen as the stuff that makes that material do something. It's absolutely essential for creating the actual machinery of life.
You see, nitrogen is a key part of amino acids, and those are what form proteins. And proteins do, well, pretty much everything. They carry oxygen in your blood, they fight off diseases. Nitrogen is also right there in your DNA, the actual blueprint for building and running your entire body. But here's the crazy part. The air we breathe is 78% nitrogen. It's literally all around us. But for most living things, it's completely unusable in that form. It's kind of like being thirsty in the middle of the ocean. There's water everywhere, but you can't drink a single drop.
So how does life get around this huge problem? Well, the real heroes here are tiny bacteria and, believe it or not, lightning. They fix the nitrogen, which just means they convert it from that unusable gas into a form that plants can soak up from the soil. Then, animals get it by eating the plants, and eventually, other kinds of bacteria send the nitrogen gas back to the atmosphere, completing the whole loop. It's just a powerful reminder that sometimes these smallest organisms on Earth are doing the most important work.
And that brings us to our final gear, one we're all super familiar with, water. So if carbon is the structure and nitrogen is the machinery, then water? Well, water is the lifeblood. It's the transport and cooling system that lets the whole engine run without overheating.
You know, they call water the universal solvent for a really good reason. It dissolves and carries nutrients, like that fixed nitrogen we just talked about, that plants and animals desperately need. It helps the chemical reactions inside our cells happen, and it helps regulate the temperature of the whole planet. Honestly, without water, none of the other cycles could even get started.
And its cycle is just this beautiful physical process we see all the time. Water evaporates from oceans and lakes, it rises up, cools down, condenses into clouds, and then falls back to Earth as rain or snow. Then it all collects again to start the whole journey over. It's basically a constant, planet-sized distillation system.
Okay, so we've looked at the individual gears, right? We've got carbon, nitrogen, and water. But the real magic, the absolute genius of the design, is how they all lock together and turn in perfect harmony.
And that's the thing. They can't work alone. You shouldn't think of them as three separate assembly lines. It's much more like one single intricate machine where every single part is absolutely essential. It's not three different cycles happening on the same planet. It's one interconnected life support system. And when you look, you see the connections everywhere. A plant can't use carbon dioxide without water for photosynthesis. It can't build its proteins without nitrogen, which, by the way, is delivered to its roots by water. The very organisms that are cycling the carbon and nitrogen are themselves made of all three. It's a totally codependent system. One can't work without the others.
So here's the big takeaway. You can't push on one part of this system without affecting the whole thing. For example, if you get an overload of nitrogen from agricultural runoff, it can choke waterways with these destructive algal blooms. Or if you throw the carbon cycle out of balance, you get ripple effects on the water cycle through climate change. It's all one tightly woven fabric.
And that really gets to the fundamental principle of this whole engine. In nature, there's no such thing as a way. There's no landfill. Every single atom is valuable, and it gets put right back into the system to be used again and again and again. It's the ultimate circular economy.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty big thought. We live inside a perfectly efficient, completely waste-free system that has kept life going for eons. So as we design our own systems, our cities, our industries, our economies, what lessons can we take from this planetary engine that has already solved the ultimate problem of sustainability?